I think if you're going to invest in the ratio incentives, you really, really have to love the cover. Hey there, I have an unboxing video for you today, and in this order, I have a couple of pretty substantial ratio incentives done by a couple of artists that I love, that I follow, and I was thinking about just how to justify the cost on these because I still am in kind of a transitionary phase with my collecting in terms of the ratios. Do I pre-order them? Do I wait for some of them to rise in value? If I risk not pre-ordering them and they rise in value, am I able to find them elsewhere? And I've been having recent success in finding a lot of these books without having to go to eBay. And the reason I do that is because I feel like I have a better chance of getting them in high grade. And I think on average, maybe, around that 9.6. Obviously, we want the 9.8, but it at least gives me a chance to get the 9.8. And I feel like I have a better shot at getting these ratios in a 9.8 from some of these stores, but do I pre order them? And I think that's what I continue to struggle with. And I'm starting to look at this the way that I look at store exclusives. To me, a store exclusive cover, you are buying it because you love the artist, you love the cover art, there's something about it that is striking, and you want to have it in your collection. I don't believe that store exclusives are a good investment, but just kind of like I say, you have to let yourself FOMO sometimes. A lot of times I will allow myself to buy store exclusives, and hopefully in some future unboxings I'll go over some of the store exclusives that I've purchased. And in the past I have picked up some that have increased in value, but really it's because of the demand, the attraction to the cover. There's something else about it that may not even be relevant to the story. So it's kind of like you're trying to catch lightning in a bottle with some of these store exclusives. So I'm kind of feeling the same way about ratio incentives, where I just think to myself, if I was going to go buy a store exclusive and I was going to get like the minimal trade and the trade bundle, and it was going to be somewhere between 30 and 50, $60, somewhere around there, then why not go ahead and spend the extra money to get a ratio incentive, because that's more closely aligned with the speculation and investment on the open order covers, A and B and so forth. So that's where if a book does pop, then the ratio incentives are the kind of the first ones to jump in value, right after the initial like cover A. The store exclusives sometimes get left behind, and a lot of times I keep thinking back to the early Venom issues, and there were so many store exclusives and things like that. And I have a lot of store exclusive variants for some of those key issues. I want to say in the first maybe 12, 14 issues of Venom. And it always amazes me that the demand really isn't there. It's not as strong. It's like uh, Something is Killing the Children is another one where there are some store exclusives that went crazy because they were limited, and then others just they're just out there floating around. It's just the attention really isn't on those for some reason. And there's a weird curve that seems to happen with some of these books where if a particular first issue, first character appearance, whatever the significance is, there's some sort of like mental recognition or attachment with that initial cover A, that it jumps, and then people will typically get online and say, yeah, well, if you love that one, there's a more rare, there's a late printing, there's an alternate cover, there's a ratio. Everyone always has the more rare copy of the book that you have. So if you went all in on Black Panther 3 cover A, somebody will throw back in your face that, well, like cover A was super easy to get, but do you have the 1 in 25s? And then do you have the second print because it's Tocino on the cover, right? And that's going to be better than cover A. And you just kind of get confused, like, well, what gives? Over time, if a book really, like the trajectory of a book in terms of value, like starts to really take off, what ends up happening is people kind of return back to the cover A because it's the more familiar mainstream. It's the first thing that I think, it's the first impression. It's the first thing that everybody saw. Like, well, what issue did that character appear, or why is this part of the story significant? So that's where I'm a little on the fence, because we will see books take off, we'll see the ratios fall behind and then jump ahead, but then I think over time they're kind of forgotten. So let's unbox this order of comics, and I can show you a couple. Let's take a look at the books, make sure they're in good shape, and then at the very end I'll go over the analysis of the order, and I'll show you what I paid for these and whether or not it was worth it in the end. Okay, here we go. So this is the order from Midtown Comics. Here it is in their standard brown kind of medium-sized box. So let's go ahead and get this open. All right, I was going to say that they did a much better job packing, and then realized that the bag was shredded. So again, what that means is that the books slid around so much that they ripped right through the bag, right? So I don't know what the paper bag is doing, other than it kind of acts like tape, I guess, keeping the books together. I don't know. At least it looks like, well, here's why too. The ratios, they're shipped in this like plastic top loader or semi-rigid sort of holder, and I think just the weight of those and the fact that they're much stiffer than the regular bag and boards, I think that just helps push right through the paper bag. So let's check this out. So I'll save those couple for the very end and go over some of the other books. All right, so I got 2 copies of Han Solo and Chewbacca. Again, I saw these. These were available for me to pre-order, and I missed them. And I just didn't. I collect a lot of Star Wars. I was just, for some reason, I was not thinking that this would be something I wanted to read and collect. And then, of course, I found out later that there was a reveal, and they're kind of expanding the Solo family, I would say. And so I wanted to grab some. Now, at first glance, here's something that I'm noticing right up here, right in the corner here. Hopefully you can see that. When the boards are damaged, that's not a good sign. But I think these 2 books in particular were saved. And I'm just going to quickly open one. I'm not going to grade these books here in this order today, but I just want to make sure that, yeah, and there is some damage to that corner. Let's see, it's picking up that right there. Let's see here. Yep, it's crushed right in there through every page. Sorry, there we go. So it's crushed in here on every page at the top corner. So we'll see if every book has this problem, but this is what tends to happen sometimes with the Midtown orders. Like, you could see just the absolute destruction of that. Basically, there's just corner crunch right there on the board itself. And so when you start to see this on all the boards, then you know that all the books are damaged. Now, of course, it doesn't mean that couldn't be pressed out, but you're talking about an order of 10, 12, 15 books, and you have to press each one. You know, that could be potentially 2 weeks worth of time. Here's Crimson Reign number 3. First cover appearance of this character, and again, I'm staring at this part and distracted by the corner damage here, and I'm just hoping that the book slid around that it's not damaged as well. We'll inspect some other ones in case it is. Here is the Greg Land variant to Spider-Gwen Gwenverse. Again, I'm just kind of inspecting the corner here. And then the David Nakayama Gwenverse. This is the cover A. And love Nakayama. So he'll be a theme later in this unboxing. All right, let's see. This is an AWA. This is Hit Me, number 1 of 5. And since it sort of slipped out of the bag, we'll give it just a quick inspection. I think we're okay. It looks like just a few of those were damaged, but not all of them. This looks to be a 9.8 candidate. And the AWA books, just like IDW and some of the Marvel, so hard to get these in a 9.8. This looks like a 9.8 candidate. And again, another artist to call that I follow and love. Yeah, and this board, oh, there it is. This board has just a little bit of damage here, but let me get this back in the bag and board and move on to the rest. All right, Daredevil, Woman Without Fear, number 3. I was kind of picking these up one at a time. Check out this corner right there. It's folded back completely. I don't know if I can straighten that out enough. So that, yeah, look at that. So that's the whole corner right there of that book damaged. Now, again, it would be kind of a neat pressing experiment, but that's the kind of book that I immediately just dropped down to like an 8.5. So that's really unfortunate. Yeah. Even though it was placed backwards, you can even see that on the bag too. The bag is even shredded as compared to the other corner. That's very what you'd expect. So this was just constant crushing and moving around in this order. As noted early on when I opened it, where the books were completely through the paper bag. So that is really, really unfortunate. So let's just see this. And then this one doesn't look to be damaged at all. Everything looks pretty solid. This is Hulk 3 second print. So this is the cameo of Bulk, what I was calling Nulk. We don't know quite yet what the character is. I'm not sure if he's been given an official name, but this is the second printing. That one looks to be okay, like it has survived. This one did not. Look at this. So here we go. This is where the damage occurred on this book, right there in the corner. So let's take it out, and you can see. I'll just slide it out right here. And yeah, that corner just was completely mangled. Look at that, even worse on the back. So thank you, Midtown, for that one. Yeah, that's really bad. That one I probably go with a 9, although I don't know if I'd go 8.5. I'd probably go 8.5 on this one, maybe 8 on the other one. I'm not sure yet. Depends on the rest of the book. So yeah, that was destroyed there. Okay, so how about it's like hit or miss. Some of these literally got hit and some of them didn't. Here's Berserker number 7. And this one appears to have survived the damage. You would have seen it right away on this all black cover. So this one, it's funny, like some of them I'm going to end up giving an 8, and then some of them are going to get a 9.8. I don't know. As long as these two, the next two books, don't have the damage, and again, thank goodness they sent them in this rigid holder, because they would have completely gotten crushed. So let's take this one out. This is Crimson Reign, number 3, from, again, David Nakayama. And when I saw this book, this cover, it had so many things going for it. Crimson Reign, Star Wars, Nakayama, great cover, great character on the cover, and I had to get it. It does look to have a little bit of an issue here on this corner. Hard to tell, it's right on the white near the barcode, but I don't believe it was from impact necessarily. And then it doesn't appear to have it on this side. So it's just a slight, and then am I seeing things? Maybe it is okay, actually. Get a little bit closer. It looks like it might be okay. I might have just seen a shadow there. So this looks to be a 9/8 candidate. I don't see any other problems with it. Slight tearing at the corner, but it's borderline acceptable. And that looks to be the only real problem, again, other than the general Marvel paper wrinkling. I almost called it pinkling. So very, very fortunate and very lucky to get that one in a 9.8. And I'm going to go ahead before I drop it or do something weird to it. And I'm going to put that in a fullback and mark it as a 9.8. And this is why I take the risk of ordering from online stores after the fact, rather than rushing off to eBay, because I do feel like, and I don't know any eBay sellers in particular that do this, but I feel like they would cherry pick, meaning they maybe have access to 3 or 4 of these, and maybe they're a reseller. They sell privately on behalf of an LCS. They put it online, and the LCS doesn't want to get dinged for putting books, out on the secondary market to make money, so they have somebody privately do it. But maybe they keep 1 or 2 of the 9.8s and they sell the 9.4s or something like that. I'm sure it happens everywhere, even on online stores too. But there's something about it where I feel like I've had a more success getting these from online stores after there's been a bump or a price increase, or maybe they come back onto the store and Midtown does a price adjustment. And I'm willing to pay the money for something like this because I treat it the way I would treat a store exclusive. If I love it, and there's a lot of boxes that it checks off, then it's worth the money. And what I have found is if I can't pre-order this for $17.99 or $29.99, whatever the pre-order price is, and I still want it, I know that I'm going to have to pay the extra money to get it, and I'm happy that I have it. Okay, the last book in the order, again, fits the bill, and this is the X Lives of Wolverine #4, and this is the Adam Hughes cover with Wolverine as Patch. Now, I am hoping this one also does not suffer from any impact damage. That scared me at first. The bag is all folded over. Let's go ahead and take it out and see what condition this one is in. All right, so at first glance, it looks okay. It does not look damaged. So again, even though several books were damaged in transit, the way that they packed these two, it did not suffer from damage in transit. However, this one has a corner issue right there. I'm going to see if I can fix this myself by just trying to fold it back in place. And it looks better, but unfortunately that's going to keep this one from being a 9.8. I think the tearing is too significant there. So I'm looking at a 9.6 most likely. And I think I thought I saw a hairline tick in the spine somewhere, but the spine actually looks really good. So, gosh, that one corner is going to end up, and again, would I send this in for grading? Yeah, and if it came back a 9.6, I'm good with that. And, it'd be borderline 9.8. I don't believe it's a 9.4 because of the corner, but it is something where I don't think it's a slam dunk 9.8. And actually, I'm seeing the tearing on both sides. This is the top corner that has a little bit there. And then the back corner here, right there. Again, I don't believe it's 9.4. I think this is a very, very clean. The covers actually doesn't have too many of the waves and no scratches or dings anywhere else. So very happy. It's clearly high grade. It did not get damaged. At least it didn't in transit. And I'm going to go ahead and put the 9.6 on it. Now, one thing I will note too is sometimes you get away with those corners being the way that they are, and sometimes you don't. And you just can't put like, well, sometimes that book gets a 9.8, so let's put a 9.8 on it. I always go with the lesser of the two grades. If it's basically going to be a coin flip between the two, I just assume I'm going to lose. And still, though, this is amazing. There's so many things I love about it. It's Adam Hughes, which is great. You can see in the shadows too, of the branches of the palms. The shadows are claws, which is awesome. I love it. Really, really great Hughes cover. There's faces also hidden in here as well. I just knew I don't know. Sometimes I see these books and I'm looking online and I'm looking at pre-orders or I'm looking at what people are talking about, or I'm just doing my own homework on what books are coming out, and I see these two and I'm like, just all day, yes, absolutely, on both of them. Nakayama, Hughes, great, fantastic. Two of my favorites, great covers, great characters, and I kind of mark it down as books I want to track and follow, and they happen to pop up on Midtown, and I grabbed them. What did I grab them for? What did I pay for these books? Let's take a look. Okay, this should be pretty quick. This is the breakdown of the order placed with Midtown Comics on March 8th, 2022. It was nearly a $200 order, and I distributed the $17 of tax across all of the books so that the total cost lines up. And if we're going to compare, there's really no reason to compare CGC value. These were all brand new books released here, as you can see in column F in 2022. So we're really trying to compare the current fair market value as reported by Cover Price. That's my source for raw books, and the total costs that I paid. So from a raw value perspective, I lost 25 bucks in this order, right? So this is kind of me trying to justify the money that I'm spending here, and I have to really, 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 really love this book because if I'm really just looking at value, it's not adding up. So I paid $68.92 just for the X Lives of Wolverine 4 that ended up being a 9.6. It's currently has a fair market value of $44.10. I looked on eBay a little bit earlier. I did see some recent sales for a bit more than that, but I think $44 is fair. And then I have to think about that. I have to understand, what am I doing? How am I spending my money? Does this make sense? On the flip side, the Crimson Reign #3 Nakayama, I paid $73.42, and it currently has a $75 fair market value. So, obviously I would have loved to have paid a lot less than that, but the fact that it is a 1 in 50, that's about 75. Now, I'd like to see it increase to 100, and then I think I've really got something. If it keeps hovering at 75, then it will most likely topple back down under ratio, which is typically what I see. I feel like the ratio variance, they'll kind of rise up, and then once they're out there and people are trying to get maybe double or even triple ratio and the market gets a little saturated, then people start undercutting each other and it'll maybe settle in about 20% under ratio. So you could see a 1 in 50 probably settle in around 40 bucks. If I saw that Crimson Reign 3 or that X Lives of Wolverine for $40, I'd probably buy another one, just because I like them so much. But it's a weird debate that I always have with myself, because if you look at the total cost of those two books, being $142-ish, should I have taken that $142 and bought a Silver Age mid to high grade Fantastic Four, something like that, right? So these are the kind of things that I think about all the time. But then I see something new and shiny like this Hughes cover with Wolverine as Patch, and I'm like, amazing. Some of the best art I've seen. Is it Hugh's best cover? No, it is not. Is it really something unique and different with Wolverine as Patch? Yes, in my opinion, it is, and I like it. So I'm sharing what I pay for it because I want to help share kind of what I'm thinking. I'm sharing what I pay for these books so that you can kind of see, first of all, what is kind of out there on the market. What are these price points? And then you can also learn from my mistakes where I will overpay for a book because I think it's cool. I like the cover. It's a significant story, whatever. And then you see the value and you're like, that wasn't smart. And so then you can kind of set your own price points and ranges for which you want to acquire some of these books. Looking at some of the other ones, a lot of negatives here. Paying what looks to be, roughly about $5 a book here, or sometimes a little bit more, due to the amount of tax. And most of them are under fair market value. Well, maybe half, I guess half. The Han Solo and Chewbacca book, I think that one's going to probably settle in around $10 over time. So I'm happy to get those at cover. But it's kind of a mixed bag. I think the other thing that's kind of troubling me is the fact that several of the books were damaged. Thankfully, the ratios were not. I got one in a 9.6 and one in a 9.8. So in that regard, I am happy about that. But I'm just kind of bummed. I had a pretty good streak going with Midtown. I mean, at least every book didn't have that kind of impact crunch damage, but unfortunately, a few of these books I'm going to have to give a grade of somewhere around 8, 8.5, or 9 if the damage is minimal. So let me know what you think. Are ratio incentives something that you chase? Is it something that you like to collect? I do like to have them in my collection. There's something about sort of the hunt of the book and getting it and acquiring it and knowing that you have a copy. But does it hold up over time is always the question. Hold up in terms of not just value, but demand or even awareness. I feel like because there are so few of these, that unless you've got somebody out there hyping a book, which you do see, especially on social media, somebody's just like throwing a book in your face every other day, and it's the same book, reminding you of that old ratio incentive. Unless you have that, you kind of forget. Whereas the cover A's, they're always around, whether they're available for purchase or it's just something you remember. And I think that that's what helps drive up those open order books and kind of let the incentives just sort of fall back into more of a reasonable price range. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm very interested to hear your collecting stories and what you target, whether you stay away from these. Do you think incentives are a scam? Is this manufactured scarcity really a problem in the market? Do you treat them like store exclusives? I'd love to hear your feedback. So let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, happy collecting, and see you next time.